It began so subtly I thought I was imagining things. The cat, black fur, faint white stripe across its nose, had made my desk its bed for weeks now. It would arrive like clockwork, just after I made coffee, leap onto the wooden surface, curl up near my laptop, and nap for hours. There was something comforting about its presence, until the first whisper. It was a soft sound, barely above a breath. I was scrolling through emails when I heard it, right beside my ear. Don't send that reply. I spun around, heart thudding. No one was there. The cat didn't stir. I brushed it off with stress. But the whispers grew bolder. They always came when I was alone, never during Zoom calls, never with the windows open or while I played music. Just silence, and then that voice, so faint it felt like it came from inside my own head. Look under the floor vent. He's not who he says he is. Don't answer if the doorbell rings twice. The messages weren't constant, but each one sent a shiver down my spine. They were oddly specific and disturbingly relevant. One night, I left my phone recording on voice memo and stepped out of the room for a few minutes. When I played it back, all I heard was the low hum of my air purifier and the faint creak of the building. Disappointed, I was about to delete it when, at the 3:17 mark, a whisper slipped through the static. He's watching you from the building across. I dropped the phone. Terrified yet compelled, I pulled open the blinds and stared at the window of the building opposite mine. It was dark, except for one lit apartment. A man stood there, still, his face hidden behind the reflection on the glass. As soon as I looked up, he turned off the light. The next morning, the cat sat on my keyboard, staring at the screen. The file with the recording had been deleted. I tried to convince myself it was paranoia. Maybe I was overworked. Maybe it was just a weird cat. But somewhere deep inside me, I knew this wasn't a normal animal. It wasn't here for warmth or food. It was trying to protect me from something I hadn't yet seen. The day started like any other. The cat was already on my desk when I woke up, waiting, eyes fixed on the hallway like it had been listening all night. I tried to shake off the tension, make coffee, and distract myself with meaningless tasks. But something about that morning felt wrong. The air felt heavier, the silence deeper. At exactly 3:06 p.m., the cat suddenly stood up, its back arched, fur bristled, and its ears flattened. It let out a low, guttural growl I'd never heard before, not from a house cat. It wasn't looking at me. It was staring at the front door. Then came the knock. A single, sharp rap. The cat bolted from the desk and disappeared under the couch, its eyes wide with primal fear. I froze, my cup halfway to my lips. Another knock, this time louder. I crept to the peephole and looked through it. A man in a postal worker's uniform stood there, holding a small package. But something didn't add up. He wasn't shifting his weight like delivery people usually do. He wasn't checking his scanner or even glancing at the package. He was just standing, perfectly still, his head tilted ever so slightly upward, as if listening for movement inside. Then he smiled. Not a friendly smile, a knowing one. Wide. Too wide. My instinct screamed. I backed away quietly, heart hammering. I didn't make a sound, didn't speak. I just waited. The cat, still under the couch, hissed and let out a low yowl, one I'd never heard before, almost like a warning. After a minute, the man knocked once more, 2 quick taps this time, and walked away. I watched him from the peephole. He didn't go down the stairs. He didn't leave the building. That night, I discovered the scratches. Inside the door, long claw marks, 5 of them, ran down the wood from the top lock to the floor. The kind no human could have made without tools. The cat didn't come out all night. It sat under the couch, staring at the door, whispering too softly for me to hear. Whatever was out there hadn't left. And now, it knew I was inside. I didn't sleep that night. The cat refused to move from its spot under the couch. Every time I drifted off, I was jerked awake by the sound of faint scratching or whispering. I couldn't tell anymore what was real. The next morning, I decided to stop being afraid and start looking for answers. I pulled down an old storage box from the top of my closet. It belonged to my grandmother. She'd raised me after my parents died in a fire I was too young to remember. I hadn't touched the box in years. Inside were brittle photo albums, dusty trinkets, and a small leather journal with my grandmother's initials on it. I flipped it open. The entries were strange, cryptic lines dated decades ago. He returned again in the form of an animal. Only the black one sees him. Whispers at dusk. He waits in the silence between moments. She must never be told. If it finds her, she will be the last. At the bottom of one page, a single word was underlined in red ink. Felis. My hand shook. I searched online. Felis was a Latin name for cats. But deeper down obscure forums, I found references to ancient folklore. Spirits that entered our world through shadows, drawn to families marked by a watcher. The watcher, always in feline form, chose one person in each generation to protect, until the balance was broken. I remembered the photo album and flipped to the last page. There it was, a picture of my grandmother, younger, standing in front of a stone house. At her feet was a black cat with a white stripe across its nose. The same cat. It had been here before. Not just a companion, but a sentinel, a guide, a final line of defense. That evening, the cat returned to my desk, curling up as if nothing had happened. But when I leaned in, it didn't sleep. Its eyes stayed open, locked on mine. It whispered one last time. You were always meant to remember. He never left. And now neither can you. I understood. The man at the door, the whispers, the markings on the wood. This wasn't random. I was chosen, not because of who I am, but because of who I was always meant to become. And now it had begun again sometimes. What we see as coincidence is part of a deeper design, one that spans generations. Trusting the unexplainable, even when it defies logic, can uncover truths long buried and protect us from dangers we don't yet understand. Not every guardian has a face, and not every warning comes with a knock.